When Trump called the World Health Organization China-centric and mentioned we'll be looking at removing our funding, he's not incorrect about questioning them. The WHO has been a total mess in dealing with COVID-19, or the Chinese virus. Their main job here is to minimize the threat of global pandemics. And if they weren't so China-centric, this whole thing could have had a very different outcome. So what do I mean by China-centric? Let's talk about that. As I'm sure many of you know, the Chinese government punished medical workers as well as media for trying to warn about this new virus. And more recently, one of the doctors that warned about the virus has disappeared, which is both incredibly sad and incredibly unsurprising. The WHO has yet to publicly criticize Beijing for lying about COVID-19. They've even gone so far as praising Beijing for its response, with Bruce Aylward, their Assistant Director General, saying if he had COVID-19, he'd want to be treated in China.
If I had COVID-19, I want to be treated in China.
This, by the way, is a guy who condemned people who see China as an evil regime. Couldn't imagine why. The WHO praised China, saying they had, quote, perhaps the most ambitious, agile, and aggressive disease containment efforts in history. And the praise of China by them goes on, and there's obviously nothing to be praising them for. Even China sending testing kits to Europe was a complete disaster. Britain, Czech Republic, Spain, and other countries received hundreds of thousands of faulty testing kits with a 20 to 30% effectiveness rating, showing incorrect positives and negatives. But back to the World Health Organization. They also said in another statement that they appreciated, quote, China's commitment from top leadership and the transparency they have demonstrated. Because, you know, they've been super transparent from the very beginning of all of this about the existence of the virus and the numbers reported. Right? A study by the University of Southampton found if China had been more forthcoming 3 weeks earlier, it could have prevented 95% of cases. True transparency would have saved tens of thousands of lives. By the way, it's not just rhetoric from the WHO that I have a problem with. They have failed at their job here on almost every level. When President Trump started to restrict travel on China on January 31st to prevent spread, Dr. Tedros, the Director General of the WHO, who, by the way, has a doctorate in philosophy and not a medical doctor, said travel bans were not needed to prevent the outbreak.
There is no reason for measures that unnecessarily interfere with international travel and trade.
Well, he was wrong. They also advised other countries not to follow the US's lead. And much later on March 11th, the WHO had declared COVID-19 a pandemic, even though it had spread globally weeks before. Let's talk about Taiwan for a moment. So, if they didn't already appear to be sucking up to China enough, about a week ago, a journalist from Hong Kong over FaceTime asked Bruce Aylward why Taiwan was not a part of the WHO. And he pretended his connection cut out, and you could tell that he was obviously uncomfortable on camera answering the question. They reconnect, he avoids the question again. Let's go ahead and check that out.
WHO considered Taiwan's membership. Hello?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I couldn't hear your question.
Okay, yeah. Let me repeat the question.
No, that's okay. Let's move to another one then.
I'm actually curious on talking about Taiwan as well, on Taiwan's case.
Well, that didn't look suspicious at all. The reason they're not a member of the WHO is because China refuses its entry. They can't even attend the World Health Assembly, the WHO's decision-making forum, as an observer. Taiwan actually wrote to the WHO in late December asking if there was human-to-human transmission in the virus outbreak in Wuhan, and they admitted they didn't even respond to them. And despite all of this nonsense, Taiwan's performance actually appears to be pretty remarkable, with 5 deaths and 375 confirmed cases. No thanks to the World Health Organization, of course. Anyways, guys, the WHO could have tried to hold China accountable for their actions, but instead hopped on the propaganda train with the Chinese regime and praised President Xi for his political leadership in dealing with the coronavirus. Insane. And people aren't buying this crap. Hell, even the Deputy Prime Minister of Japan slammed the World Health Organization, saying it should be called the China Health Organization, which is actually pretty funny. So yes, I think Trump is right to call the WHO China-centric. And yes, I think his administration should investigate whether or not we should continue to be their largest contributor. But let me know what you guys think. As always, you guys, thank you so much for watching the videos. Really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to see more. Thanks.